that flows through every aspect of an organization, and today is different. We put ourselves and our organizations literally at risk of complete destruction every single time we get online.
One click, one distraction is all it takes.
Hi, Cybercrime Junkies. This is your host, David Morrow, along with co-host Mark Mosher.
Come join us as we explore our research into these blockbuster, true cybercrime stories,
along with interviews of leaders who built and protect great brands. And now the show. Well, all right. Welcome, everybody, to Cybercrime Junkies. I am your host, David Morrow. And in the studio today, we are joined by my illustrious co-host, Mark Mosher. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful, David. Thank you for that fantastic introduction.
You are a fantabulous co-host. That's what it says according to my insincere things to say to coworkers app that I created, that I use for you.
I am to podcast what Ed McMahon was to the Johnny Carson shows.
Yes, and I am no Johnny Carson. Really excited about today's episode. We have got a good friend of mine, used to work together years ago. He's one of those Renaissance guys, and I think the listeners will really understand after they hear about his background. But he's always been doing a lot of creative things, always out to help people. Really a great mentor. A young kid who didn't come from a background of technology, in the sense that it's not like his family worked at IBM and they were software developers or anything like that. And when I first met Timothy Houston, he's also known as TJ Houston. He had like a professional photography studio on the side, like all of these really, really interesting creative outlets that he's always been working on. TJ, welcome to the studio. We're really excited about having you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you reading that exactly word for word, exactly how I wrote that down.
Yeah, do you like that? No, it's true.
Is that going to be the foreword to your new book?
Yeah, exactly. So for the listeners, he's a proud member of the U.S. National Guard. He's a director of IT and a cybersecurity instructor at Ashland County West Holmes Career Center. He's got his MBA, and again, does a ton of creative things in the spare time, as well as being a fantastic family man, proud father, and husband. So, yep, TJ, absolutely. Man, welcome. Let's talk about how to begin a career in cybersecurity.
Absolutely. So
this is a great topic. This is a great topic, right?
Yeah, and I think especially kicking off that new year, because I feel like people are looking to get certifications in the new year. That's maybe that's their goal. Maybe they've myself, like I was scared to death of certifications. Like I got my associate's degree back in like 2010, I think it was, in IT. And I remember taking a Microsoft exam. Now I didn't study for it, but I'm like 19, 20 years old. And I'm like, oh, Microsoft, like I know all this stuff. And I failed it. And I was like, oh crap. Like I never want to take another certification exam. That was a horrible feeling. So I went through like all my CCNA courses, never took the certification. A+ courses, never took the certification. So it wasn't until like later into my career, like I want to say when I was in my 30s is when I got my bachelor's, my master's, and over 10 IT certifications, all within like a 2-year period. And
10? Did you say 10?
10 certifications in 1 year.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. So COVID, I just
you've got me beat by 10. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. Didn't interrupt.
Oh no, you're fine. So, to those people that are out there that maybe you're scared of taking those certifications, you don't need some test to tell you. I was that person. Like I didn't feel that my knowledge should be justified by what they put on a test. It wasn't until, like I said, later on in my 30s that I started taking certification exams, and I took them as like guided learning challenges. And what I mean by that is, like, my first IT certification that I got was Security Plus, and man, did I learn so much about cybersecurity. And if I didn't say like, hey, I'm going to take this certification, I would have been all over them. I would have tried to learn cybersecurity, and it's this vast, this huge thing of knowledge. Instead, I was like, you know what? This is my goal. I'm going to set that goal for, 3 months from now. And at that time, it was before the new year. And I am going to put a plan together, and I'm going to spend an hour a day reading out of this book. And I'm going to spend an hour watching these videos. And I'm just going to slowly eat away with it. And I passed it. And I remembered that high that I felt when I got that certification. So I just want to help other people have that same feeling. So one of my first slides that you can see here is I am here to help you. So please reach out. At the end of the towards the end of the show, I actually have if you go to my website, go to tjhouston.com. There'll be a link there that you can actually sign up and get the slides from today, a free coaching call, as well as access to my IT fundamentals course that's launching in March. So again, stay to the end. But even if you don't need any of that, if you just have questions, please reach out on my website. Again, if you go to tjhouston.com and then towards the bottom, you'll see all of my socials are there. I'm a very easy person to find. But again, I want to help you. I am here for you guys. I don't want anything at all in return. I just want you to join a career that has brought so much happiness and joy to me. IT is IT and cybersecurity both are just amazing careers to be in. You meet a lot of awesome people, and I want you to have that feeling as well.
That's fantastic. So let me unpack that real quick.
Sure.
So what you mentioned two things that I thought were really interesting, and Mark, you probably heard the same thing, right? One was you weren't just going after the certifications to pass the test. You were looking at it like, by doing the certification, I get to learn all of these things, right? And the way that you did it, now that it's the new year and people are doing what? They're all making New Year's resolutions, right? And then we know the drill. Like, we know that come February, in March, right? It's all going to be history, right? And no one's going to follow up, because I think that, like a lot of things, we're not focusing on what do we need to do each week or each day, right, to make that happen. We look at the result, like losing weight or passing a test or getting a certification. That's the result, right? We can't just stare at the result, right? We have to focus on what can we do each week. And what I heard you say is, I dedicated a block of time on a regular basis to make this happen. And that changed the trajectory of whether you were going to pass or not, but also you devoted yourself as a habit, right? And it becomes automatic. It becomes just second nature. This time of this day, this is what I'm doing. You block out everything else because there's so much noise and information. I think that's really so important to really focus on habits.
No, and this really parallels some of the other really successful professional people that David and I have had the pleasure to speak with when it comes, especially in cybersecurity, not just IT alone, but that do it for the reason to gain the knowledge and build the foundation and decide what direction you're going to go, because it's such a vast chasm of different directions and options. You red team, your blue team. What about this? And how? So what you said, what you stated was perfect. Gain the knowledge, get the foundation, take the cert, pass it, because there is some joy in getting that. I know there really is. It's really cool. And I love the fact that you're dropping the IT fundamentals in March. Because David, what you said, come sometime in March, people are going to start losing that focus. What a great time to pick it up and drop in on that IT fundamentals and renew that, start building that new knowledge again. Now there was a lot to unpack there, so I'm glad we had a second to walk.
Well, yeah, and for those that haven't met TJ yet, I mean, please reach out to him. I got to tell you, you're potentially half my age, buddy, and you have taught me so much. Like when we worked together, we both learned things together, right? I was able to help you and guide you through some things through the experience that I had been through. But your approach to things and your curiosity, it's amazing how helpful he is. Like, I mean, just from everything, from like, what I love is your approach, because there's no such thing as a dumb question. You can ask TJ anything, and he genuinely is there to help, because it's that thirst for knowledge. It's that thirst for, hey, try this. It's always worked. Oh, that didn't work? I didn't know that. Let's figure this one out. And we both kind of figure things out together. It's really cool. You've got a great approach, and I think that the listeners and people will really embrace this. Like, take advantage of this. Like, reach out to TJ, take advantage of the offers that he has, because there's no ulterior motive here. He's genuinely here to help, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I work, like you had mentioned, I work for Ashland County West Holmes Career Center, and I get to help kids, juniors and seniors, start off into IT. So this is what I do every day. This is what I eat, sleep, and breathe. So if there's something new out there, if there's something, news happening with CompTIA, I'm a CompTIA partner, EC Council partner. So again, utilize me for that. Like, I want to help anybody get started in this just because I'm passionate about it. Like you said, I just love experimenting, trying, getting ideas off of each other. So again, I'll take a real quick step back. For the last like 20 weeks, I've been at training down in Fort Gordon for the Army. And during that time, it was, they basically started off with, hey, this is a computer. And then we ended with, doing some CCNA level stuff. So that experience taught me so much. Like, people are like, "Oh my God, you have all these certifications. You're a teacher. You teach the same content. You're more certified than the instructors here." I loved every minute of it because I got to help more people and I got to learn how to, how people think, and the more people that ask me questions, the more I understand kind of the human brain and how it's thinking through some of these IT concepts. And it's just going to help more people. So it's
That's
kind of me
phenomenal.
being selfish in that the more I learn, the better I can be. So please reach out to me. And again, I like to go into teacher mode. So like, to me, like, I want to like get through this content and, I'm not in my normal like podcast conversation mode. So I do apologize to the listeners. I'm more of like going through slides and having,
It's okay, man. We're here to
interaction.
learn.
So.
We're here to learn. And on behalf of everybody, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you
I
for your
mean,
support.
and don't you think cybersecurity it's very similar to military, because there's a sense of service, right? It's a sense of public service. I mean, that is what cybersecurity is all about. I write about that all the time in our blogs. I mean, it's the greatest. There's a role for anybody in the cybersecurity field or the IT field. If you're creative, there's roles. If you want to be in sales or marketing or leadership or management, right? And you're not even that technical, there's roles for you within the cybersecurity. Just learn the language, learn the players, learn the tools and the platforms so that you can articulate it. Because I really think to make cybersecurity and protection effective, right, we have to translate, right? We have to translate all this technology and this tech speak into business operational matters, right? We have to be able to do that. So don't be dissuaded about going into cybersecurity because of lack of technical skills either.
Right.
One other question I had for you is, when you were down with the National Guard and they started that training, the first part was, okay, here's a computer. How many people were like, "Hey, what's that thing?" Like,
So, yeah.
like that's kind of new. Like, I've never cracked one open before. Like, what were the various levels there?
Yeah. So I would say 80%. I'm like thinking about like in my class specifically, there
Mhm.
was like me and one other person that had done like he had done some like AT&T like cell
Oh.
phone work when he was in college. So he had like very basic level networking knowledge. Everybody else was lost, 100% lost.
Mm.
And the cool thing about the Army was they take that, where you have no idea what you're talking about, and then they get you to that point where all there is to know about like networks and like knowing network security, hardware, software. So I do have one of my questions in here is, I'm in the military, um, what certification do I go for? But what I should have put in there is, is the military a good option for cybersecurity? And I feel like that could be a whole another topic,
Oh
but
yeah,
um, they do
that's a
a
long.
really they do a good job of getting you from zero to having a lot of knowledge on the subject. Now you're still going to do some certification prep in order to get those certifications, but I was kind of jealous of some of the young bucks that were in there. Like, you're going to leave the military with if you do things right, your cybersecurity certifications, plus you're going to have 5 to 6 years of IT experience when you leave. Like you're
Oh
set
yeah.
up for success. You know what I mean? So
Oh
I was kind of
yeah.
jealous. They were going all over the world and getting ready to do fun stuff. And I came back
I
here.
I saw a recent article across the feed that was talking about so many people that are joining either the National Guard or a matter of one of the divisions of the military, and then they were leaving right after learning cybersecurity. It's like, well, no kidding. Like,
Right.
like there's so many great like the private sector and the government sector outside of service, right, still has so many great needs. And if
Right.
that's the place where you can gain your experience, like gain it, right? Or
100%.
even continuing to serve within the military. There's just so much opportunity. So
Yep.
you have a couple things that
Yeah.
I want to make sure. What was
Yeah,
this? The
so this
Ohio
is the
Cyber
Ohio Cyber
Collaboration.
Collaboration Committee. Now, there are other states that have a similar program, but
Hmm.
as you were saying, like, oh, I want to, that cybersecurity is kind of like that, your service and whatnot. Well, Ohio has this Cyber Collaboration Committee where you have the state and local governments with the military mixed with the private sector. Okay,
Ah,
so I serve on this for the education side, but I'm currently working on my application for the other lines of effort. So with that, you can have um, the here's the cyber range. Um, there's the cyber reserve. So cyber reserve is basically like you're in the National Guard and that you could be put on active orders, where you have that kind of protection from with your employer. But this is to fend off any attacks that happen, whether that is
interesting.
local, one of their partners, and it's kind of like the National Guard for geeks and nerds. It's cool. Nerds
That's very cool.
because
Well, it resembles Infogard and it resembles the FBI's IC3.
I see
Mhm.
three. That's the first thing I
Yeah,
thought of.
yeah.
So this was something that was pretty cool. When I first started teaching, it was um, put in front of me. So I'm on the education and workforce part, but they have a cyber range that's out of the University of Cincinnati. So if you want to go, test and learn about Linux or practice any like cyber attacks, stuff like that, you can absolutely check out there. And again, this is for Ohio. I don't know others. I know other states are looking at it. I just don't have like their direct connection.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll throw links in the show notes
yeah.
for the audio listeners.
Absolutely. So
Absolutely.
definitely see if there's something in your state. It's a great way for you to network and gain experience. And if you still want to serve, and maybe you have like some of the weird stuff, like you have asthma, so you can't be in the military,
Hmm.
or there's waivers and stuff. But maybe you still want to serve, or maybe you're older and you're not within that, or the height and weight requirements, whatever that might be. Definitely check out like the volunteer opportunities, like the Ohio Cyber Collaboration Committee, or just be active in your local and local city, things like that. Do free classes, whatever that might be. Just get involved because it's just going to make you better.
Yep, and a lot of the CISOs that we've talked to some global CISOs, and but the unanimous theme, kind of like when you're reading tea leaves, is that we're all in this together, right? And there needs to be a collaboration between the military, federal, and the private sector, right? Because when advanced threats happen, when supply chains are hit, it's very similar to the triage that has to happen when organization is a massive ransomware attack. So, what can we all learn? What can we all, kind of join tools, systems, platforms, communication, information, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So
So,
I did right. We're
let's
still
walk
unpacking
through.
this.
Yeah.
I did want to say like if there was three takeaways that from that whole conversation that we just had the last like 10 minutes, I would say it's set a goal today. Go buy your voucher. If you need help with that, let me know. I can, talk you through that. Go set your date for when you're going to have or take that test and book it. Okay. You can always change the dates. And I've done it like up to an hour before. I actually
Mm.
finished one part of the A plus and I was like, oh, I'm bored. I kind of want to do the second half. And it wasn't like I set it for like the next week. So I literally just changed it to like an hour from that. And then I just took the
that's
second part of
great.
the A plus, like just to knock it out. So it's really fluid with scheduling, but set that date for when you're going to do it. Make a plan. Again, if you want to use your half-hour coaching call with me, we can sit down and figure out what that plan is. I can share at the end of this. I have a bunch of resources, both free and paid, that you can use to kind of fill in what does your schedule allow. And then the third one is, I think it's most important, and that is communicate your goals with your significant other or those around you, because that puts a level of importance on it. So that was one thing with my wife. She's really good about giving me that time to study or knowing that it's important. We were supposed to sit down yesterday, but we're going to try to sit down today, and we set our goals kind of for the year. And the same thing even with like YouTube. Like I'm building a YouTube channel, and I'm communicating that with her. Like, this is what is really important to me right now. So this is my plan to do it. So because of that, she knew that I wouldn't get off work at 3 every day. I would get off work about 4 or 4:15 and then go pick up our son. So us having that, communication really helped. Like, she knew that I was there studying, and she supported me with that. So if you don't communicate, if you don't tell those around you, they're either going to think that you're blowing them off, or they're going to pull you away. I mean, your habits are going to get crushed because they want to do fun stuff, or life gets in the way. But the more you communicate it, I think the more successful you'll be.
Yeah, and I think that's great advice, right? Especially because communicating the habits that you're going to be putting in place, right? Like, again, I just heard, the timeline. Like, you block out that time, that extra hour at the end of the day, and you've communicated that to your significant other, so that way they know it's not personal to them. They'll support you through it, and after that time period, then go get the little guy and do the honey-do list and things like that.
Absolutely.
That's
So just to kind of go over like what the next little bit's going to be. Obviously, we've already talked about my certification. At the end, I have a list of a bunch of resources for you guys. Again, both free and paid. And then kind of what's next on mine, kind of my to-do list. But I wanted to cover two things. So two main companies that I kind of want to talk about. Number one is CompTIA. If you've even heard of a certification, chances are you've heard of CompTIA. What's cool about CompTIA is they are vendor neutral. So you're not going to learn how to program a Cisco switcher router. You're going to learn networking. You're going to learn about subnetting. You're going to learn about, the routing protocols like open shortest path first and those kind of things. But it's not going to be like configuring just Cisco. Okay, it's very vendor neutral. And another reason I like CompTIA is they're great for getting jobs. Okay, so what I mean by that is like getting the Cloud Plus. Okay, the Cloud Plus is going to teach you cloud concepts. And then you look at a job that is a cloud engineer, whatever that might be, it's enough to get you in the door and talk about your own labbing experience. And then if they're an Amazon shop, then that company will probably pay for you to get your Amazon certifications, or you at least have kind of a vision of going forward. Because if you go down that rabbit hole of Amazon and then you look in your dream job, they run Microsoft Azure or Google, whatever that might be. Now you're going to have to go learn all those and spend more money. So to me, I've just really resonated with the CompTIA exams. I have all, but I think 2 of them, 3. I think 3 of them I don't have, which I want to get this year. That's on my to-do list. So that way I can say I have every single CompTIA certification. Not that I need Project Plus or any of those for what I do, but I want to have them. I want to collect them like Pokemon. They're accepted by the DoD. So the Department of Defense has a list of certifications that they look at as far as jobs, whether that's inside the military or doing any contractor work. And the CompTIA ones are all on that list. And I'll share with you the link to that actual DoD list. But again, they're great for opening up the door. They're good for showing that you have experience as far as understanding the concepts. And what's nice about the certifications is if you haven't worked in IT, they're a great bridge to, again, at least get a foot in the door, especially if you're looking to maybe transition from IT to cybersecurity.
Yeah, and the vendor neutral aspect is really important, right? Because it's a wider breadth and allows you to speak, because some of the people you're going to be speaking to are not technical. And so by being able to say, yes, I understand this, from a holistic, from a 1,000-foot level, I think that's really key.
100%. And the cool thing is, there's tons of prep material. I mean, you can walk into your local Barnes and Noble, and you're gonna find CompTIA prep stuff.
That's great.
The chances of you finding, stuff for the OSCP or, CISSP will usually be there. But CompTIA is always there. A plus, Net plus, Security plus, the golden triangle, if you will. You can find that content absolutely everywhere. The other one is the EC Council. So
yeah, what is the EC Council?
So the EC Council, if you've ever heard of the CEH exam or the Certified Ethical Hacker. Now, pardon my friend, but how badass does that sound? Like, oh yeah, I'm a certified ethical hacker.
Now, I absolutely love it. I mean, that's at our company, All Covered Concom and Ulta, we are an MSP and we employ a bunch of certified ethical hackers, and it is like the coolest thing to ever mention in a meeting in front of a client.
Yeah.
It's one thing to say, yes, we provide cybersecurity services. It's another thing to be like, yeah, we employ hackers. Like that's just
absolutely.
It's just
and there's a lot. Like if you're in the cybersecurity world and you talk about IT certifications, is the CEH the best ethical hacking certification? No. It's not. Right. I mean, they're making strides with adding like a hands-on portion now this year to be a little bit more like the OSCP. And then there's a new one, the PNPT, which is like a 3-day engagement that has, it's more real world. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. But what EC Council is really cool for is they have some entry level ones. Their Essential series, I think, are really good specifically for high school students. So that's what I've begun teaching for my high school students, attack defense and forensics. But also they're on the DoD list, whether you like it or not, the DoD likes them. So again, if you want to do any of that contractor work, or again, if you're looking towards that military path, they are on that list. Also, they have some really unique ones that are like certified. They have some mobile stuff specific to web, the forensics one. Again, that they have certifications that nobody else has, so it makes them pretty unique. So again, we're looking at entry level and CEH. If you want to go into the red team, then CEH is going to be on HR's. I mean, that's what's going to put on the job posting, whether it's the best or not. That's the one that the people hiring, that's the one they know.
Interesting. So, okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go. Let's. I think that's really interesting because it not only covers anything for government, federal government. It's on the DoD list, but it is one of the main ones that's always going to be listed. There might be others for that particular organization that they might be looking for that role, but by having that, it'll get you a foot in the door, or at least get you an interview.
Absolutely. And if you are on the live stream, what I'm referencing when I say the DoD certifications, they have what's called the DoD approved 8570 baseline certifications. So I'm pretty sure I'm sharing my screen.
Yep, I've got it right here.
So you can see here they have different levels. So this kind of level 1, we have the A+, the CCNA, Network Plus, SSCP, all the way up to our higher level certifications. So we have our CASP, which is CompTIA's kind of version of the CISSP. We have, again, you'll see the CHFI, that is the certified, I want to say certified forensics investigator.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Yeah. So again, that there is showing you that the EC Council stuff is all throughout this list. So again, if you look here, we have we have the CEH and we have CYSA, CompTIA and EC Council. So they are the ones that I think are worth the most time. I like that they're vendor neutral, and I like that they're on this list to just kind of insulate yourself come, whatever the next season of your career might be. Just focusing on certifications that are on that list can do nothing but help you.
Very cool. Very cool.
So I want to go through, and like I said, I want to put myself in someone else's shoes. So and that's how I'm going to kind of preface these questions. So if I was me asking myself, really Inception like here, asking myself, what would I do? That's what I am going to, that's the kind of the tips that I am going to share. Okay. So first and foremost, if I was in high school and I wanted to get into IT and or cyber, what would I do? And if that were me, I would definitely be looking heavily into the Essentials series. Okay. So with the Essentials series, they have the Network Defense Essentials, they have the Ethical Hacking Essentials, and the Digital Forensics Essentials. Okay. So this is going to be that kind of door opening for cyber that you're going to want to have. Okay. So if you want to go into forensics or blue team or red team, these are going to be a good kind of entry level. And what's nice is you can actually get the training for these for free on EC Council's website. So again, all you would have to do as far as like investing any time or money, they actually have these for free on their Code Red series, which is a free offering from them. So again, this is probably where I would start. And the other one would be the IT fundamentals, which I'm going to cover a little bit later on in our discussion. So that's probably where I would start with if I were in high school. So now let's say you're in IT, but you want to make that jump over to cybersecurity. The
Right. It
first thing you
happens
have
all
to
the
ask
time.
yourself,
Yep. Happens all the time, right?
and the first thing you have to ask yourself is, do you want to go red team or blue team or purple?
Right.
I guess I could have put purple in there as
Right.
well. That's kind of that in the middle that does a little bit of both. But with red teaming, you tend
let's
to be,
define what each one, red, blue, and purple. So
yep.
in your expertise, how would you define red team?
Absolutely. So red team is going to be the offensive, if you will. And to be a good cybersecurity practitioner, I think you have to understand both sides. Okay. So it's not like, you're only going to know how to attack stuff, because you have to know about defenses in order to find ways around them. So again, a red team just tends to lean a little bit more towards the attacking, where a blue team tends to lean a little bit more to defense. Now, if we're speaking about certifications, on the CompTIA side, the CYSA is going to be your blue team, and the Pen Test Plus is going to be your red team. Now,
right. And when we think of what are the roles, think of a SOC and monitoring using a SIM platform, things like that. That's blue team, right?
yep,
And a
absolutely.
penetration testing, right? Penetration testing, red team exercises, uh, uh, things like that. That's going to be, those ethical hackers. That's going to be red team. And then what about purple?
Yep. So purple is kind of a newer term that's being thrown around. So what that is they're kind of in the middle, in that they know red team, they know blue team, and they're going to be the ones that kind of facilitate or making changes in the environments. So if you can see on the screen, I shared kind of red team is going to be offensive, ethical hacking, exploiting vulnerabilities, where defensive is going to be defensive security, infrastructure protection, doing any IR, incident response, digital forensics, stuff like that. Where purple team is in the middle, where they're facilitating any of the improvements. So, hey, red team found this. They exploited this vulnerability that got by the blue team. Okay, what are we going to do to fix that? Are we going to, what are we going to do to mitigate that risk? Are we going to accept that risk? Whatever it might be. So again, their job is to be kind of in that middle of understanding both fields and being able to make the environment just better off for everyone. So again, purple team is kind of in the middle, red team is offensive, blue team is defensive. But again, I don't think they can exist just in those worlds. You have
Right.
to understand kind of both sides
Yep.
if you're going to be a well-rounded. But with that being said, like, I've found that I'm going to say you have to pick a side, in that you're going to naturally gravitate towards a side when you enter into cybersecurity, in my opinion. And I think that is a season of change as well. So when I first got into cybersecurity, it was very much hey, let's bust out a Wi-Fi pineapple and do some man in the middle attacks and hack some Wi-Fi and like do badge cloning and like all this attack, physical security, which I still love. But then the other side of me, is now this year I'm focusing pretty heavily on, like, I want to get my CISSP. So again, I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on blue team in my home lab, which there's literally a server rack that's like, I don't know, 5 feet tall next to me, loaded with servers, switches, routers, everything. So I'm very much a proponent of lab. Lab it till you make it. So in that lab is going to be different IPSs. I want to test different intrusion prevention. So I'm going to be attacking, but at the same time, I'm going to be testing my own security to see if it picks up so I can just learn how to be a better practitioner. So I feel like when you're first starting though, it's okay to pick one side or the other, because
Mhm.
that thirst for knowledge, that understanding, again, a certification is a journey, a learning journey that at the end you might get a certification or you might not. Now, it'd be nice if you got it, but again, the end goal is the knowledge that you obtain in that
Right.
certification.
Yep.
So again, start off, pick one. If you want to, hey, I want to learn about this hacking thing, cool. Then do the one of the essentials, ethical hacking essentials, and see if you like it. If not, then maybe try the defense side. There's people that are super passionate about like defense and putting up walls. And it was like when I first got in, I was like, why would anybody want to do blue team? That sounds so boring. Like you're just like setting up firewalls and stuff. And now I'm like, I want to get all the red teamers. You know what I mean? Like that's my mindset
Right.
now in my own home lab. So when you're learning or you're wanting to pivot, which direction do you want to go? So you can see here, this is the kind of the CompTIA career pathway. So we start off with our IT fundamentals, which is probably one of my favorite certifications, and I'll get back to that later. And then you kind of move through here. Now, if you are a practitioner already, you're already in IT or networking, chances are you already have this knowledge up to this point. So
Mhm.
it's a good starting point to go with the Security Plus, and then you can see it comes over here where you actually pick your side. So again, CYSA is going to be your defense, where a Pen Test Plus is going to be your attack. Now, full disclosure, if you study for one, take an extra week, go take the other one. Like
Why is that? Why do you make that recommendation?
there's a lot of overlap between those two
Mhm.
tests, especially if you start with Security Plus. Like you're going to have a mile wide and an inch deep, okay, with Security Plus. And then you're going to go a couple more inches deep on attacking and a couple more inches deep on defending when you do the move on to that next level. The way I did it was started with Security Plus, and then did Network A Plus and ITF, just knocked them out. But then I started with Pen Test Plus as like my certification that my mind was wrapped around. Um,
Is there a
and
resource? Can I ask this? I'm sorry to interrupt
yeah,
you.
no, please.
Is there a resource that kind of can let somebody know approximately how much prep time would be needed for each cert? Like, in the cert themselves, do they say, estimated prep time
Not
of,
not
X
really, but I am
X
going to
number
show
of
you.
hours or
I'm going to show you a tool that helps you figure out how much time it'll take. So the long answer is no, because it's based on the person and the knowledge that they're coming in with.
of course, sure.
But the short answer is CompTIA has a really cool tool with their content that can help you kind of break down how much time it's going to take. And I get
Oh,
that
okay.
in the resources section. I'll go over that.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
with Pen Test Plus, I studied everything for Pen Test, and then I honestly I was like, you know what, maybe I'm fortunate, maybe I'm an idiot, I don't know. So my practice test before I study for an exam is to sit for the exam. Now that sounds backwards, but why, like for me, like I have 2 hours to take this a practice exam. Okay, now it's not going to cost me anything if I take the practice exam, or I can sit for the actual exam and see the type of content. And then if I pass it, cool. I have enough knowledge to pass it. If not, then I kind of know what type of questions are going to be
So
asked.
so time out here. You're saying that when you go and they'll let you take it again in 30 days or whatever, right? So you'll
Mhm.
go and actually sit for the actual exam before you study it so that you kind
Yeah,
of see the end result and then you'll go ahead and
Interesting.
that's interesting. So
but
when I
okay,
took
but you have
the
to realize, like, I've been in IT since '07, so like
right,
that's not for everybody. So,
right.
and I've taken courses along the way. I've home labbed a lot, and with Security Plus, like I spent a lot of time learning the Security Plus body of knowledge, which is huge.
Mhm.
So for me, it was just easier because when I was younger, I really liked a lot of the hacking stuff.
Mhm.
So I sat down and for the Pen Test Plus, I did. I learned a ton, but I went through the book for that one. Um, but about halfway through is when I was like, I'll take the practice, or I'll take this as a practice test just to see how much knowledge. And because of all the Security Plus knowledge that I had, I passed the Pen Test Plus, and I was like, cool. Then I'm going to do the CYSA next. So I looked at the objectives and I was like, okay, these objectives are kind of the same as Pen Test Plus, but this whole thing about like log files and there's a lot more about risk. So I need to double down on those things. So about, I want to say like 3 weeks later, I took the CYSA and passed it. Again,
So
it
you
was
focused,
because
so you went and you took the test, you identified where your weaknesses were, or
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
you were where you weren't as strong, right? Not necessarily a weakness, but then you identified what overlap you are. You kind of stack your cert testing accordingly and plan accordingly. And
I do.
then you go back and then you look at your weekly schedule and make those habits to build up to that. That's a
Absolutely,
really,
and I've never
that's a
failed a
different
CompTIA
approach.
certification, so,
Yeah.
I've never had to, like, go back and figure out, like, kinda where I went wrong.
Yeah.
I was just very fortunate that, like, I was so focused on the Security Plus that it was my, like, again, it was my every single day, and then I would come home and I would read out of the book, and, like, I was just so into it that it was just really easy to take that stuff back to back to back, and then when I went to the National Cybersecurity Summit down in Huntsville, I went
Mhm.
to a one-day cert prep with, IT Pro, and it
Mhm.
was just kinda it was when I was there, I was like, I was really hoping they were covering more of the content. It was more about like how to take the tests.
Mhm.
But I was like, you know what? Like this is all fresh in my head. I'm gonna go up to my hotel room and just sit for this exam. And I almost jumped out of the window, so excited that I passed my CAS.
That's really
And then I
cool.
went
Good.
downstairs, and it was actually, if you ever seen any of the IT Pro content, IT Pro TV, um, he's the older guy with like the gray hair, and he was like down in a
Yep.
Mhm.
hotel bar, and I was like, I am gonna buy you a drink because I just got certified. Like I was so
That's
excited for it.
great. That's
Um,
great.
but again, it was because I had slept, I mean, breathed all this stuff. When I was on
Yeah.
maternity leave, I was watching IT Pro TV, Linux Plus content, like to the point where my wife was like, "Oh, I see the blankety blanks back on, huh?" Like it was just all day, every day. Like I had this
Right.
time and I was like super focused on it. So I was fortunate that I had the time to dedicate to it. So I realized
Yeah.
that's not everybody. But that's why I opened up that coaching call is because I realized that my experience is different from everyone else's, but I can help
Mhm.
you figure out like how much time you have and find out where you might have time in order to kind of build those strong habits.
Yeah, and again, that coaching call is gonna be available to listeners with the links and the information at the end.
Absolutely.
That's
So I
great.
wanted to kind of go over, whenever I recommend the certification, I'll kind of go over what you can expect to see on the exam. So when it comes to Pen Test Plus, notice that I always look at like the biggest section when it comes to the objectives. So here we can see that attacks and exploits are 30%. So that's where I'm going to
Mhm.
spend most of my time studying because it's the most bang for my buck. And then from there, I'm going to look at this 22%. Okay, information gathering and vulnerability identification. Okay, that's where I'm going to spend the second most amount of my time. Then pen testing tools, planning and scoping, and reporting and communication make up the latter part. So this is what you can expect to see on the Pen Test Plus exam. So it's pretty evenly broke down, but attacks and exploits and information gathering is basically going to be the bulk of that test. So what kind of like break that down a little bit further. So if you go on CompTIA's website, you can see all of the objectives that they have for each of these exams. So what this is telling you basically the first part of your pen test engagement is what they're covering here. Okay, we are going to do information gathering and find vulnerabilities, and then you need to know what type of attacks are. So there's, are we going to do credential stuffing? Are we going to do a man in the middle attack? Are we,
Mhm.
listening for LLMNR packets, LMR packets, so that way we can, make our way into the Active Directory infrastructure? Are we going to do some Kerber roasting? Like what are our actual attacks that we are going to be doing? Okay, so one of the things that I used for this was Try Hack Me. Try Hack Me is
Mhm.
a web-based platform. They have a pen testing pathway that you can go down, and it helps you understand kind of how these attacks work. But also,
TryHackMe is a phenomenal program.
mhm. And there's also a ton of stuff on VulnHub, a website called VulnHub, that you can actually download them to your local machine and download a free program called VirtualBox, and you can
Oh.
practice your testing locally. So if you don't want to pay for TryHackMe,
Do you need to set
and
up a Linux PC for that, or it works with Windows?
it works on Windows.
Oh,
What's really cool, let me go to my share screen really quick. Um, we'll do, yep, screen one. So with that, if you let me pop open VirtualBox here real quick. So you can go to, like I said, VulnHub. Just do a Google search for VulnHub, and you'll be able to download several different machines. So you can see here on the left-hand side, these are all different virtual machines that I have on here. So you see the Keyoptrix Level 1. You have where's some other ones here? Blue. That's a very common one to look at, like Windows 7 and you doing the Eternal Blue test. There's some other ones in here, Academy. Like these are all different things that you could just download and you press start and those machines are running. And then you just kick off your penetration test. So another really cool thing about using the VulnHub virtual machines is that if you type in the name of it, so Keyoptrix Level 1 walkthrough, you can actually see where people have written up kind of step by step how you would attack this box. Okay. So you
Oh,
can see
that's
here,
great. Yeah, and
download
there's
it from
individual
VulnHub.
steps.
Yep. It goes through network
That's
scanning,
great.
what tools they use, and it'll take you through kind of step by step. So this is kind of a DIY kind of try hack me.
Yeah, very
And it's
cool.
all based on, if you look on VulnHub, it'll tell you like how hard it is, what level of security it is, but also, yeah, we see here, this is our difficulties. And then it'll also say like what it's, like what it might be testing. So it might be you might be doing some web-based attacks,
That's
or you
great.
might be doing some, just physical, trying to get root on the box itself. So
That's great.
those are
And
two great
and
websites to
for
check.
audio listeners, we'll go over to our YouTube channel at Cybercrime Junkies Podcast, as well as TJ's YouTube channel. What's the acronym? What's the name for your?
Just TJ Houston. Everything is just slash
just
TJ Houston.
right?
Yep.
And you'll be able to see the screens of what we've just been showing. It's really cool. So
Absolutely. And when it comes to those
very
walkthroughs,
helpful.
so while I was at training, Army training, I was actually going through and rooting boxes. So I have all my notes
Of
here
course,
where I'm going to go
right.
through those
Of course,
boxes.
right?
Yeah,
And
Mark was busy this weekend doing that. I kept texting him like,
Yeah,
"Dude,
yeah,
please
yeah.
stop.
I was
Go watch
underwater.
go watch a football game, will you? Like, quit doing that."
so those will be up on the YouTube channel as well, where I
Very
actually go
cool.
through and I'm going to step through them kind of step by step as well. So I'll have
Great
some
stuff, man.
put up
Great
there.
stuff. Yeah.
Hands-on learning is huge. I think that it's the key to these certifications. Just makes life so much easier when you've actually gotten hands-on with the content.
Yep.
So the next one up is CYSA. Again, just to kind of remind our listeners kind of where we're at. We're just talking about, hey, you're pivoting into cybersecurity.
Mhm.
What do you do? We said we talk, pick red or blue. And if you're going red, I suggest the Pen Test Plus because it gives you a lot of good foundational knowledge that you need. But then also the CYSA is almost the quintessential blue team certification out there, in that it's going to talk to you about threat management. It's going to talk about incident response. It's actually four quadrants is all you need to know. Like it's nothing, but
So this
again,
is for blue team. This is
this
more
is your
for
blue team.
This is blue team. This is more somebody that wants to work in a SOC, use a managed SIM or a SIM platform, look for anomalies, threat hunting, things like that. Very cool
Absolutely.
stuff.
So
Yeah.
it's broken down into security architecture and tool sets, threat management, cyber incident response, and then vulnerability management. Those are kind of the things that you're going to be doing on in the CYSA. And there are blue team, like Try Hack Me has some blue team rooms as
Mhm.
well. And there are several other websites out there that have
Where
kind of
can
blue team.
where can somebody find that you were just showing?
Which one?
This for the blue team. Like, where can they find this? Is it on the CompTIA?
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I
So
thought. Okay.
I can send everybody the slides from this, obviously. If they just go to tjhouston.com and click on Cybercrime Junkies, I'll
Mhm.
send you the slides. And the slides, you can attest to this because it's the first slide deck that I sent you. And you're like, oh my God, this is like every single CompTIA certification and everything about them. So
awesome.
we narrowed it down. We got about 30 of the slides out. So you'll get the full version. I'll send you both PDFs.
That's great. Yeah.
That like actually breaks down.
Yeah, I was going down a rabbit hole. I'm like, man, we could talk for weeks.
I know.
Really cool.
Have to have a boot camp for the slide deck.
Exactly. So the other one is the CEH, and I did talk about this one a little bit earlier. So there's now kind of two versions with, I want to say version 11, they started it.
Where you can certified ethical hacker.
Yes, CEH is certified ethical hacker. And this is going to be a lot of like tools, understanding like what tools are out there and what the tools specifically do. There's a lot of questions about that. But then there's also a second part of the CEH, which is the hands-on part. Now, you don't have to have the hands-on in order to become a certified ethical hacker, but it's like certified ethical hacker, I think pro or something like that. But for me, like I'm just gonna do the CEH this year, just to have it, and then for like the more hands-on stuff after I get my CISP. Again, I told you I'm focused 100% on defense this year. Next year is the year of attack. I'm going to look at something like the OSCP, which is your kind of higher level, more advanced hands-on exam that people are going to be looking for. Right now, I don't believe employers are looking for the hands-on version of the CEH because it is so new. So if it were me and I was picking red team, I would be looking at the CEH because so many HR programs just know that that's what the CEH is.
Yeah. That's exactly
makes sense.
So this is an interesting question. This is one that I get all the time. And while you're in training for, so I can only speak from Army, is you have your active duty guys, your reservists, and your National Guard. Okay. They're all going through these trainings together. So if you go through and ask anybody that's in Signal, which is what we call IT, what certification should I get? You know, any of the sergeants that are there, they're going to say, you need to get Security Plus. And that's true. If you are active duty Army, you need to get your Security Plus because that's what's going to give you more access. You know, it's going to get you the God card, if you will. You'll be able to do more in your job. Like active duty, you have to get your Security Plus. There's just no ifs, ands about it. And that's also, I believe, how you get your higher level of secret clearance. But if you're in the reserves and you are in the National Guard, you're coming back to your regular everyday job. So my roommates, one of them did lawn care. The other guy drove a garbage truck. Okay. So what is a Security Plus going to do for you when your only other experience is garbage truck driver? Okay. So that's where my suggestion to, your reservists or your National Guard is, if you want to get into IT, if you want to make that transition, knock out your A+, and then knock out your Security Plus. Okay. Start with that, something that'll get you into the door, because that's what's going to, at least get you in this, realm of IT. So we can see our competencies. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just, so you're starting at a higher level, right? A more broad vendor neutral level. And then you're getting into the specifics as you niche down kind of.
right.
Yes. But when you're like, so let's say I drove a garbage truck and then I went to this training and I learned all this IT stuff and I came back, and everybody that I talk to that's a sergeant or they're in active Army, they're telling you to get your Security Plus. But if you want to get entry level IT job, you having your Security Plus, in my opinion, doesn't show that you know IT. And the number of jobs that are out there that just require a Security Plus for entry level, I feel like that's a very small number. So again, just to wrap this part up, if you are active duty, you need to go with your Security Plus. I think Security Plus is a phenomenal exam. You can see how many different sections there are. So again, 6 core competencies, and these change with every test, change a little bit. But if you are active duty, absolutely you need your Security Plus. If you are just starting out in the reserves and the National Guard and you want to get a job in IT, then I think you need to look at the A+ first, IT fundamentals and A+ first.
Okay.
Next one I wanted to talk about, I know we're getting kind of close on time, so I'm going to not really speed through. I'm not going to rush it, but I'm going to talk a little bit faster, I guess. I want to leave my job in healthcare, retail.
This won't be the last time that we speak.
No, there's so much to unpack on each one of these.
I know. So where do I start? So if you're in a totally different field then I definitely suggest you need to look at the ITF plus, the IT fundamentals.
Mhm.
People look at this certification, they're like, "Oh, this is such a waste of time." And they say the same stuff about A plus. A plus is a great exam. It's a great certification. IT fundamentals, in my opinion, I think it's better because if you've never touched a computer, you have never done any coding, you've never even thought about security other than the password notebook that you have next to your desk, then you need to take the IT fundamentals. It's a cheap, I want to say it's like $99 to take the
Yep,
exam.
it is.
It covers your just base level knowledge. But what's really cool is you get to figure out what part of IT you like. This is why I have my
Mhm.
juniors in high school do it, because if we get through that first semester and we go through these areas and you still haven't found anything, then IT might not be for you because we're covering security, we're covering IT, we're covering databases, we're covering infrastructure, we're doing software development, we're talking about how to use applications and how to use different software. Other than that, there's not really much left in IT. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
other than project management, but that's why I think this is such a phenomenal exam for someone that's just wanting to pivot from, like I said, healthcare. Someone on my YouTube channel emailed me and she's like, I've been a nurse forever. I want to get into IT because I had uploaded a few ITF videos. And for that person, this is the perfect exam because they're going to find out at a very low risk. Like you can find a ton of free content out there for ITF Plus. I'm going to have my course out there for ITF Plus. If it's on YouTube, you'll be able to watch the videos and stuff. Again, it's just a great starter for anybody that wants to pivot.
Yeah.
I can't speak highly enough for this certification.
That's great.
So I'm a manager slash leader. Where should I focus my time and attention? I think that's with the CASP. The cool thing about CASP compared to like the CISSP is that it doesn't have that requirement where you have to like manage. We were talking about this before. You have
Right.
to
We have to
manage
have
team for so
managed a
long,
SOC, right?
any of that, right? CASP is just we're going to test your knowledge about risk management, enterprise security stuff, more of that kind of C-level, executive level content. Um, that's what we're going to test you on and show that you have that knowledge. So with that, you're going to be
Be
looking
great
at
for
all that
somebody in
high level stuff.
sales or management or something like that that wants to get in.
Absolutely, because you're going to be able to understand the questions that the executives might have, right? And
Right.
you don't have to be super technical to go for the CASP. I mean,
And I
you
think it's
can.
good. I think it's good if you are an internal IT or security manager,
Mhm,
right? To have this knowledge because it helps you translate the business objectives, right? Because
absolutely,
to get things done, we have to have funding. And to do that, we have to make that internal business case. So
absolutely.
really
And I think
interesting.
that
That's good advice.
when you're looking at, again, a big part of CASP is risk, and when you can go to you know your manager and be like, here is the breakdown of the actual risk assessment that I did, you're going to make them look good. And at the end of the day, it's your job to make your boss look good, okay, and
Yeah,
get
Yep.
them
exactly
promoted.
right.
So with that, getting someone that we used to work with, Doug Jones, always talked about coaching up. And,
Mhm.
with that, coaching the person above you on some of these things, it's going to show that you're at that level, and it's going to
Yep.
show that that they can trust in you for those type of things. So
Yep.
again, if you are a manager or an IT pro and you want to go for that kind of higher level, I definitely would say go for the CASP. And if you are taking your CYSA, let's say you're like, boom, I'm on blue team, I got my CYSA, study logs, study risk, go sit for the
Right.
CASP. Like they all
Yep.
kind of lead into each other, like security plus, pick a path, then go take the other one, study a little bit more and take the CASP. While it's all still fresh in your head, just go and knock it out because it
That's
shares
good
so
advice.
much content between all of the exams.
Very
So, as
cool.
we're wrapping up, I wanted to go over some of my resources that I use for studying. So, first and foremost, I
Absolutely.
mentioned this before for those kind of essential level certifications from EC Council, and that's Code Red. So, they have courses in here that you can purchase, but again, I'm just speaking from their kind of free ones that they have here. So, they have ethical hacking essentials, network defense essentials, digital forensics essentials, and then here you go, Introduction to the Dark Web. We're both reading the
Love
American
it.
King. So that's
Yep.
one that you should check out to learn a little bit about the dark web there. CompTIA Learn. So this is what I was telling you about. Um, how do I know how much time it's going to take in order to pass this exam? That was the question that you asked. Okay. So this is the CompTIA Learn platform. This is a paid product. from CompTIA. This is what I use with my students. Actually, they all get we get them licenses for this. But what you do is you come in here and you say, this is when um, I'm going to take the test. So you can see here, 3/31/2002 is when I set the exam for the Linux Plus. That's when I was going to take the exam. So with that, it gives you these little knowledge points, okay? And you can see through lesson 1, if I do 1A, that is 8 knowledge points, and that's less than 15 minutes, and then 10 knowledge points. So because
Okay.
it
Yeah.
was 8 days away, I had to do 233 because I had reset this just for the screenshot. So with this, like if you put this out long enough, it'll actually tell you what you need to do every single day in order to stay on track. What's cool
Great
about the CompTIA
resource.
Learn, yeah, because it actually breaks down, like you have your content, but you also have different labs and stuff in here as well, review activities. Like it's a full on classroom. So again, they have bundles that like include the certification voucher with CompTIA Learn, but it's definitely something worth taking a look at for the CompTIA stuff. If you are in university or have a university email address, you can go to the educational store for CompTIA and save up to 50% on their products and stuff. So again, if you have questions on
Good
that, please
information.
reach
Yeah.
out to me. I can help you navigate that. But again, it's been a huge, and that's why I was sitting for like the practice tests and stuff, because it was half off. So I was like, well, I can pay 50% and I can take it as a practice test. You know what I mean?
Right.
Again, it was helpful that I was in the university, or I had that university email. The other thing is LinkedIn Learning. So LinkedIn Learning has a ton of amazing content, specifically,
That
especially.
used to be, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That used to be Linda, right? Because we used to, back in our days when you and I worked together, we used to work with the app dev team there, and we used to learn all the time through Linda. Then LinkedIn bought it a few years back, and the
Absolutely,
LinkedIn Learning platform is phenomenal. I mean, there's
it
so
is.
many skill sets to learn from.
And you'll see here I was working on my CISS prep. And another thing too, if you look at the sign in for LinkedIn Learning, you'll notice this section right down here: sign in with your library card. So they brought the Linda had a really strong footing in the libraries throughout the country. So when LinkedIn brought them on, that program stayed there. So I urge you to reach out to your local library. During COVID, I'm doing this, but I actually emailed them and said, "Hey, just had a baby, have COVID. Can you help me? I don't remember my library card number." They said, "Hey, we're going to set you up with a digital only subscription since you're not coming in." I was like, "Awesome." So then I just signed in with that, and I get all the LinkedIn Learning content for free, and they
That's really
cover
cool.
Really?
everything.
That's really
Yes.
cool.
So you just sign in there, and it does work with your mobile devices too. So if you want to listen to it as you're driving into work or wherever that might be, use your library card, get it for free. Again, not
So
every
for
library
those that
has
didn't
this,
know,
but
yeah, so for those that didn't know, you can get all of the LinkedIn Learning for free with a digital library card. I mean, that
Mhm.
you heard it here on Cybercrime Junkies from from
Yep.
expert TJ Houston. That is really significant.
That's good information.
Yeah.
All free. And there's so many different levels. Like I said, they have all the creative content from when they had Linda, and now they have a lot of the business stuff, like the executive leadership, and then the certification stuff is there as well. And you can see in my screenshot the stuff that I was looking at. We were looking at cybersecurity, Microsoft cybersecurity, Linux system engineer, CAS, building a home IT lab. So again, this isn't content that is just like cookie cutter or,
Right.
not relevant. This is all the
No, it's
latest and
right on
greatest.
point. Yeah,
And
it's
that's
really
CISSP. I
relevant.
believe it's Mike Chappelle that's doing that actual LinkedIn Learning class.
No
Um,
relation to Dave Chappelle. Just so you
no,
guys
no,
know.
no, no. They talk about very different things, different security altogether.
Yes.
Um, so another thing, if you have your university email, then look at O'Reilly. So if you are a book reader, or even if you just want to use it for like the practice tests,
Or if you have
books that
somebody
have
in the family with an EDU
wink, wink,
email at the
nudge,
end,
nudge.
wink, nudge, nudge. Check this out.
Exactly. So there's all these different playlists that are in here. So you could just type in Security Plus, let's say, and there'll be a playlist that has both books and videos for Security Plus. Almost any book for IT is on this platform, and they have mobile device where you can save it to your mobile device on Android and iOS. It's a really good, easy to read. They have the voiceover stuff. I mean, it's just a really, really well done application. Or you can just access it just from the web browser as well. So again, if you're more of the book reader or you want like practice tests and stuff, take a look at that. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the old Professor Messer. He is like the tried and true when it comes to A plus, Net plus, or Security plus. Has a ton of free content on YouTube. He's very active in the different Discord channels and Reddit forums. His content is awesome. He does different study groups, as you can see on screen, for A plus, Net plus, and Security plus. So if you are focused on those certifications, definitely take a look here. Or let's say you're studying for CYSA and you need just like a brush up on, I don't know, the Diffie-Hellman exchange when it comes to encryption or, the public key infrastructure, whatever that might be. Just watch his single video on that because he does such a great job explaining it. And all of his content is on YouTube.
That's
Udemy, as you can see here, courses are always on sale on Udemy. I collect them like Pokemon too, I swear. When I can get a course for like $4.99, $5.99, I just download it and save it to my account.
And I just learned that you pronounce it Udemy. I always thought it was Udemy. I don't know why.
Oh, maybe it is. I just thought it was like I'm teaching something from, I'm learning from Udemy,
right?
Like, but I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah,
you could be
I don't
correct.
know. If listeners know, let us know. It's
exactly.
cybercrime.com.
And they're always doing flash sales. If you have any, plugins for your web browser like Honey or any coupon things, they're automatically in there. Or also Reddit. I should have mentioned CompTIA has a really strong Reddit, as well as there's a couple like cybersecurity certification ones that they'll post like whenever they find like deals and stuff. So take a look at that. Then we have the Netflix of IT certifications, and that is IT Pro TV. I want to say I pay like maybe $10 a month for IT Pro TV. Don't quote me because I pay for it on an annual basis. And I might get a military discount. Don't know. But with IT Pro TV, notice on the left-hand side here, I think a lot of people just come and watch the videos, but there is so much more to IT Pro TV than just the videos. So if you look on the left-hand side here, you have your courses, but below you have practice tests. Those come from Kaplan. Okay, so Kaplan are some of the best practice tests that are out there.
Oh, yeah.
If you've studied for the bar or anything else outside of IT, you know Kaplan very well.
Exactly right. Yeah, I was just about to say that's exactly what I used when I took the bar exam.
So those practice tests are in here. So even like for your CISSP, those are in here. They also have virtual labs for the different certifications as well. That's all web-based. So again, if you want to get hands-on, but you don't, your significant other isn't okay with you having a server rack next to you like mine is, then definitely just do the online virtual labs because they're here. And the cool thing about IT Pro TV, it's the entire package. So you get the courses, you get the labs and the practice tests.
Oh, the labs are built in there and they're all online. It's like a SaaS.
That's pretty cool.
That's really cool. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's really good for people.
And they were just purchased by ACI Learning, so they have even more funding to do even more stuff now. So again, definitely take a look at it. They do live streams and stuff all the time too, just to help like you get a job in IT. But again, IT Pro TV, I'm a huge fan. So what's next for me? I want to wrap it up with kind of my goals because again, I want to vocalize these so you guys can hold me accountable to these. CISSP is number one. I'm in my master's for cybersecurity, and that is part of the program is the CISSP. So I'll be focused on that this year. CEH, I'm hoping that I could just go take the test and knock it out. Project Plus, Cloud Plus, just so I can say I have all CompTIA certifications. And then VMware. I've been really getting into VMware lately, especially with my home lab. So I want to take that deep dive into VMware. I have some clients because I do IT consulting. I'm going to be spinning up some VMware projects this year. So I want to become a master at those as well. And then if I have time after all that, I'm going to look at some Windows and Amazon certifications. So again, for anybody that wants the coaching call, please feel free to reach out. Again, I want to hear from you guys. I'll show you exactly where that's at on my website. So let me pull up here. If we go to tjhouston.com, over here on the right, we have Cybercrime Junkies, and you'll be able to fill out your first name, last name, and email address, and I will get that stuff sent over to you. Okay,
yeah, and if you can give us the link to that, and we will put that 100%. Right in the show notes. So if you're listening to this as a podcast, you can just look at the show notes. We'll have a link right to this. You go ahead and do this. And what do the listeners get?
So they get a half-hour coaching session with me. As you can tell, I'm a little long-winded, so you're probably going to get more than a half hour. Access to my IT fundamentals course, which is going to have the labs and the practice tests.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't want to sign up for anything, I get it. If you just want to watch the videos are going to be free on YouTube for my IT fundamentals class. But if you want the labs and the practice tests, those are going to be in the course itself. But because you're a listener here, you'll get free access to that, so you won't have to pay the $99 for that. So again, there's
that's great.
Pretty good value there.
Thank you so much
for you. And then also the slides from today, the extended version of the slides.
Oh, so what's included in the labs that normally they would have to pay $99 for?
Yeah, so there's, I want to say 21 modules in the course, and each one of them has a hands-on lab that ties to that content, because I'm a huge proponent of, again, it being a learning experience. It's not just regurgitating content. So it'll be a hands-on lab that you can go through with your own equipment, where you can, learn whether it's, you're covering the programming side, it's a Python lab. Whether it's the database side. So you're going to be doing some stuff with installing PHP and MySQL on your local machine. Those are all the hands-on labs that are only available in the ITF course, the paid portion. Those aren't going to be available on YouTube.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's all part, they can get that in the practices, and all of that will be through the IT fundamentals, and it'll all be sent right to them, and they can access that on your site.
Yep, absolutely. So when the course goes live, they'll get an email with a coupon code, and they'll be able to enroll in that course for free and not have to pay the big bucks.
That's great, man. That is fantastic. Well, we certainly thank you for that. I mean, I think our listeners, as well as Mark and I, are definitely excited about having had you on. We will have you on again. We will be talking.
You got so much more to ask.
Yeah, because we're just kind of, as I unpack this, I'm going to have 1,000 questions.
Yes.
But, it's really, really, again, getting back to what we talked about in the beginning. What a great approach you have, TJ. Like, you're here to help. You have a phenomenal offer for the listeners. That's fantastic. But just your approach to it, and really helping people decide in your career, what do you want to do? What are you passionate about? What can you see yourself doing on a regular basis? And then backing into then what steps need to be taken. And then from there, you can go and apply for the right jobs and make the rest of it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what all is next for TJ Houston? Right as we're wrapping up here, what are you doing next? I see information here. You're looking at your CISSP, your CEH, Project Plus, Cloud Plus, VMware, and then Windows and Amazon certs.
Yeah. So for me, I'm taking that kind of purple team approach to the CISSP, in that I'm going to be setting up defenses, but then also working through different attacks and stuff, because I do want to share
get past
what
those
I know.
Defenses. Yeah.
Right. And I want to share, everything that I learned rooting all those boxes while I was at training. I want to share all that with everybody, and kind of, if somebody's stuck on one of those rooms or one of those boxes, and kind of talk through my methodology, because again, I'm developing my own methodology as a practitioner. So if someone could be like, hey, you've seen this tool, or, oh, that's a really silly way to do it, or, oh, that's a really cool idea, a really cool way to do that. I want to learn out loud, if that makes sense.
So, yeah.
That's what, that's kind of my goal, especially kind of recommitting to YouTube this year, is to learn out loud with everybody and kind of document my learning process. So
that's great. Well, we'll be along for the ride, man. This is fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is great.
TJ, thank you so much.
Yeah,
absolutely. Whatever you guys need.
It's been an absolute pleasure, man. Always learning, always interesting conversations, and we're going to touch base again soon and see how this is developing throughout the year with you.
Sounds great.
Everybody,
thank you for the opportunity, guys.
Yep. Check out tjhouston.com and TJ Houston on YouTube. We'll have links.
Pretty much all the socials. Yep.
Yeah. We will have links to everything in the show notes. And again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, everybody. TJ, thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thanks, DJ.
Thanks, guys.
Cybercrime Junkies, thanks for listening and watching. Got a question you want us to address on an episode? Reach out to us at cybercrimejunkies.com.
If you enjoy our content,
then please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel at Cybercrime Junkies.
Connect with us on all social media like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and check out our website at cybercrimejunkies.com. That's cybercrimejunkies.com.
And thanks for being a cybercrime junkie.